Greetings from Mpartwa, the stolen, colonized, climate changed land of the Aranda people of Central Australia. As Lisa said, it's 7:30 in the morning here, and I've just returned from a 5-hour field trip recording pied butcherbirds, which I do nightly since I've been doing that since about August here in Central Australia and northern Queensland. It began like this. In 2002, 3 pied butcherbirds formed a song circle around me at a parched sheep station in Western Australia. Each contributed their singular part in a rich, flute-like voice. This trio was an epiphany for me, but I held no ambition to improve upon their phrases. Deeply struck by the musicality, I simply wanted to hear and know more. I began research into their song culture. As a violinist composer, my fascination with birdsong is primarily auditory rather than theoretical or philosophical. I assumed that scientists would value the unique perspectives a musician could bring to understanding a bird's song. Yet with the advent of recording technologies and sonographic analysis, biologists established a dominance in birdsong studies by favoring a trained eye over a trained ear. I availed myself of the scientific literature, to be sure, but field work requires practical information. What do pied butcherbirds look like? Where do they live? When do they sing? How do I record them and analyze their songs? Crafting an appropriate methodology necessitated selecting a disciplinary home. Musicology's fixation with Western art music is shifting thanks to significant events like these from Lisa and Nicola, and it's widening its scope. Meanwhile, ethnomusicology has reshaped the conception of music beyond the confines of Western traditions, although not beyond the human boundary. I grounded my project instead in zoömusicology, the study of music and animal culture. My research into pied butcherbird musicality embraces musicological tools and perspectives, values meticulous long-term field observation, and acknowledges the value of the tangible experience of music. It also makes space for the extraordinary and enigmatic to influence how the species is represented. We'll take a brief road trip, dipping into some of my field recordings and recompositions, a term highlighting my intention to honor the accomplishments of avian soloists. All my recompositions showcase my field recordings as equal musical counterparts to diverse human musicians and their instruments. Other birds, to be sure, but also livestock auctioneers, dingoes, nocturnal insects, kangaroos, fellow campers, cattle, and more. We'll travel west to east along the Macdonnell Ranges. First stop, Ellery Creek, Big Hole. Environmental field recordings create emotionally resonant spaces, enchanting listeners and potentially providing a reprieve from daily routines. Amid climate and biodiversity crises, such recordings foster ecological awareness and may also embed activist and ethical dimensions within the emotions they stir, with multiple studies indicating field recordings' ability to promote pro-environmental behavior. Next stop, Hugh River. This is where I was last night. I resist adopting a pastoral tone that idealizes nature. Instead, my goal is to highlight the profound and even eco-political dimensions of places I have recorded. My belief that field recordings can alternately provoke and alleviate eco-anxiety aligns with a study that observed, quote, nature is both the trigger for and answer to our ecological grief, anger, and anxiety, and as such is at the epicenter of human emotions. The climate crisis and biodiversity decline are as much cultural challenges as scientific ones, so factual information may fail to shift attitudes, but spaces enlivened by animal music embolden a broader public commitment to biodiversity. Owen Springs Reserve. In all my recordings, the bird identification is drawn from the field site location, which too frequently evokes the imposed names and dubious legacies of deceased white men. The vocals here consistently enchant me, and as all my sites, his song undergoes annual changes, providing a stream of fresh material to explore. Or, lest the bird seem an automaton, the song does not change. The bird transforms it. Honeymoon Gap. Songbirds comprise half of the world's 10,000 bird species, distinguished by their ability to learn their songs. This capacity for vocal learning is surprisingly rare. Beyond humans and songbirds, vocal learning has only been confirmed in an elite club: hummingbirds, parrots, bats, elephants, and some marine mammals. Cassia Hill, Simpson's Gap. Simpson's Gap is a stop along the Larapinta Trail, a renowned long-distance walking track. Glimpses of the black-footed rock wallaby can be had, and the woodlands serve as a sanctuary for over 40 rare plant species. This site also holds deep spiritual significance for the Aranda Aboriginal people, with dreaming trails and stories converging here. The Cassia Hill Walk offers excellent elevated views of the range and the permanent waterholes surrounded by steep red cliffs. It's nature at its most spectacular. However, nature is a word scholars can scarcely avail themselves of anymore. Those like Morton would destabilize a Western or romanticized notion of nature. Granted, nature was likely never straightforward, but my concern lies elsewhere, with discussions of natural processes and systems, emergent phenomena, personhood, Bennett's vibrant matter, and so on. I'm concerned that a bird and their song may be devalued if lumped in with all things natural. Araluen Art Center, Alice Springs. Darwin shaped his evolutionary theory of music through his observation of bird songs, acknowledging continuity between species. But another way of getting where I want to take us is via ecofeminism, which links the exploitation of the earth with the oppression of women, suggesting that both are interconnected forms of domination. In my lifetime, I have gone from being told by a university professor in my composition class that women could not compose, and certainly not birds, to now being told that AI can compose. Regis Street, Alice Springs. In some cultures, songs are perceived as spirit world gifts, with innovation or compositional agency even viewed unfavorably. This perspective contrasts with a more dominant Western notion of a rare work of genius and the countless others who imitate such geniuses. Where might a songbird be perched along the stops from genius to AI? I'm devoted to bring forth the songs of individual birds, phrases they have learned, varied, transformed, composed, and improvised upon. But must he be a genius composer? Raganazy Road, Alice Springs. Evolutionary biologist Richard Prum sees a way through this, offering insights into co-evolutionary aesthetics. He separates, quote, biotic advertisements, which share with human art the common mechanism of co-evolving, evolving with their evaluations, from abiotic phenomena. For example, the night sky or a rainbow results solely from abiotic optical physics, while fruits, flowers, and animal courtship displays emerge from physiology shaped by millions of years of evolution. Petrick Road, Alice Springs. As Prum reminds us, there is nothing special about the sensory systems of humans to support our current privileged position in aesthetics. Humans are only one of millions of species of animals with elaborate and integrated sensory systems. So individuals don't merely have their own Umwelt, they have their own art world and modalities of signification. Jesse Gapp. With co-composer Jon Rose, our multimedia production Night Songs operates on the principle that songbirds are essential participants within the wider musical community. As pied butcherbird vocalizations captivate audiences and foster interspecies alliances in the concert hall, they also promote multi-species justice. In this, justice is not framed as formal or institutional, but as a series of representational and epistemic propositions. Some have suggested that to transcribe a bird song is to succumb to elitism. I see it differently, as does Kofi Agawu. Representing the music under examination using conventional notation integrates it into, quote, a sphere of discourse enabled by a distinguished intellectual history and undeniable institutional power, end quote. Notation says music. Mount Benstead Creek. Conventional Western music notation has fallen out of favor among ethologists. Nonetheless, when combined with sonographic analysis, it's a vital tool. Borrowing techniques and concept from one discipline to enrich another breathes new life into both. Bitter Springs Creek. Even with years of experience notating across musical genres, transcription is an intense, painstaking, and repetitive endeavor, filled with doubt, revisitations, and constant refinement. While producing a sonogram takes mere seconds, the winding path of transcription enhances rather than diminishes its value. I avoid claiming that notation can entirely portray all musical traditions. Nonetheless, my notations reflect how one committed listener conveys her auditory experiences and makes them available to others. And genres utilize confused recordings in music composition. Debates surrounding authenticity and process often arise. While Schaeffer avoids referencing or revealing his original sound sources, Westerkamp asserts that soundscape composition must cleave to its sonic environment of origin, stating it is never abstract. Enduring debates move in many directions, revisiting issues like the purity and validity of recordings in controlled laboratory settings versus the authenticity of capturing an animal's natural habitat. Discussions also visual species versus entire soundscapes, the ethics surrounding processed versus unprocessed tracks, and endless technical debates on equipment. Nadala Gate. Beneath these debates lies a shared reality. All recordings are inherently subjective and edited to some extent, shaped first by the preferences, biases, and intentions of the recordist, and later by their choice of equipment, technology, and techniques. Indeed, not just recordings, but all listening experiences are mediated and filtered through a listener's ears. Ross River. David Dunn suggests that the ability to experience soundscapes as music is both one of the oldest forms of listening and among the most modern, while David Rothenberg observes no sound is ever safe from being considered music. If I can perform a bird song on my violin for a receptive audience, does not affirm its status as music. Some might imagine zoömusicologist's focus on animal musicality as narrow and chiefly driven by pragmatic concerns. However, as you notice, the field drifts and pulls in unexpected directions, both practical and theoretical, as it follows a bird's song. Rather than confining itself to animal sonic constructs, as I initially expected, the field demands broader perspectives, intersecting with human researchers, human psychology, and human power. This resonates with the experience of ethologists. Quote, "The history of animal behavior as a science is also a history of human behavior as we learn to modify our beliefs, practices, and attitudes about other organisms," end quote. A word on human exceptionalism in music. Dominique Lestel asks whether the only legitimate cultural agent is a bourgeois Westerner, while Anna Maria Gauthier argues that both animals and humans possess the ability to produce expressive sounds that enhance social functions and foster a sense of collective identity. Moreover, film music has significantly influenced what we are willing to perceive as music. Arltunga. Zoomusicology underscores the centrality of sound in mediating ecological and multi-species interactions. And as global environmental challenges become increasingly urgent, the field advances tools to influence public attitudes. Through its emphasis on sound and ecological interconnectedness, zoomusicology can reinvigorate music studies and performances, inviting us to reconsider our place in the natural world and our responsibilities to other species and our environment. A thought about sound versus text. Attempting to decode animal communication systems is very much in vogue right now, but I don't have to decode birdsong. I already know what I hear as music. Like geometry, music is another way of thinking. Deeming the structure of language as the structure of thought ignores music's place in the philosophy of mind, as Higgins has argued. Advanced tools can process massive data sets and may well assign meaning to patterns and even identify language-like communication in animal song. But a splendid immersion in things sonic and aesthetic rolls right over the results of data analytic processes. Music is its own message. By challenging the anthropocentric, Eurocentric lens of traditional musicology, zoomusicology fosters kinship, ecological stewardship, the celebration of a mosaic of approaches, and great sonic concepts of animals. Birdsong is that against which we have no defenses. Thank you.